Why? 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 Why?
Hello there and welcome back to LeEdFollow, where I am seriously running out of garage space. Like literally, I'm tripping over every single piece for this project on a daily basis. But today we're going to crack on and get that GR86 differential fitted to the GT86. So the first thing you need to do is, of course, get the car jacked up, make sure it's got some axle stands to make sure it's nice and safe and steady, and get the wheels off. So before we can fit the diff and the drive shafts, need to make sure that the wheel bearing holes in the hubs are nice and clean. So bit of WD-40, wire brush, clean the front, don't forget to also clean the back. And then also in the hole where the splines are, I give that a good clean and then use WD-40 to wash away all the rubbish. Then before I fit the drive shaft, I'm spraying a little bit of oil just to make sure that when I put the drive shaft in, it's not dry, it's actually going to slide in nice and easy. If you've ever removed the diff on something like a Supra or Subaru, you know, they've got little hubs here with a bolt pattern on it and the shafts bolt into it. Not so on the BRZ, FRS and 86. They literally just pop in. You've got to give them a little shove, but there's a little retaining ring on the end which locks them into place. Now, if you insert one of the drive shafts into the diff and it locks in place, you may struggle to get it back out again. But tip from me, get a spanner that's just wide enough to fit between the drive shaft and the diff, then get a rubber mallet and then hit the spanner to lever the drive shaft back out of the diff. So if you're going to be doing this at home yourselves, then you can follow this step by step as I'm doing it in the same way I'm doing it, if you like. But if you've got a car that's already got a diff in it and you want to remove it, then naturally just follow these steps in reverse order. It's pretty much the same. There's nothing I can think of that's going to be a problem when removing it as opposed to fitting it. Something that I will point out though is that initially when I went to fit the drive shafts to the diff, I tried to fit the shafts to the car first and then bolt them to the diff before raising the diff up. I found this was very difficult to do if you don't have a 4-post lift or a pit. So what I did is I removed the shafts again, bolted them to the diff first, and then fitted them to the car. So you'll see that in the video to come. So before I go trying to fit this and then fail miserably, I just want to inspect all of the brand new genuine Subaru bolts that I've bought to fit this diff. So there are 3 on the back of the diff casing and there are 2 really long ones at the front. So I've got them all here. As you can see the part numbers, I'll put them in the description below. So not only do we want to make sure that these actually fit the diff and they're correct and the threads are all okay, we also want to try to fit the 2 long ones to the bottom of the floor. So these are the 2 that go through the big rubber bushes at the front of the diff. These will have to locate into the floor here and they're quite long. You have to torque them up. The holes may well be rusty, so let's test fit them first, make sure that everything goes in finger tight so that there's no nasty surprises when we go to actually fit this permanently. Now this is the back of the orange Cosworth GT86. Now the reason I'm under here is I wanted to point out to you what the standard factory diff mounts should look like. You've got these 2 rubber donuts. You can see the one on the left's got 2 bolt holes, the one on the right has got 1 bolt hole. This is what it should look like. But on the white 86 shell, you can see somebody's removed the rubber mounts and they've actually welded in some sheet metal. Not my cup of tea, but I don't have time to change the subframe. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, I decided to attach the drive shafts to the diff first, and then with a little wiggling and the use of the jack, I was able to insert the drive shafts and raise the diff up into position. Now on the other half of the drive shaft, you've got the hub nut. So I'm going to take that off. I'm going to give that spline a nice clean and some lubricating oil again. Then from underneath the car, I can just slot the drive shaft into the back of the hub. Now it's just a case of putting the hub nut back onto the exposed end of the drive shaft from the side of the hub. There's a Subaru part number on here somewhere, if you wanted to take a note of that. Not that expensive, I think they're like £10 each. Well, I guess they are quite expensive for what they are. But anyway, you're not supposed to reuse these nuts, and I'll explain to you why. You probably could get away with reusing them, but why stop when you're so close to doing everything perfect? So here you can see the old nut is on, and there's a little indentation in the drive shaft. And what you're supposed to do is when you torque this up, you're supposed to get a hammer and a screwdriver and just bend that in so that it locates in that groove and it kind of locks it in place. Some drive shafts have split pins, but these don't. Now, as you can see, there's the indentation from where it was previously fitted. I haven't torqued it up yet, so it doesn't align. So I'm going to undo those, put the new one in, torque it up to the proper spec, and then hammer in the little dimple so that it locks in place. Okay, so old one off, and you can see the indentation very clearly there. So fresh new one, worth the extra money for the peace of mind. Okay, one side done, just need to do the other side now. So now it's time to attach the prop. In theory, this is quite straightforward, but the weight of the prop, if you're working on a flat surface like I am, you may have to use the jack again to lift it up into position so that you can bolt everything in place. There are two big bolts that hold the prop in just underneath the driver's armrest, which you can see here. And then there are 4 bolts on the diff end, which literally have a nut, a bolt and a washer. All part numbers in the description below. For the moment, I'm just leaving the gearbox end of the prop dangling because I can't fit that until the gearbox is in place. Okay, so one of the things I decided to do while I was under here is remove the heat shield from underneath the tyre well. It's only 4 10mm bolts, and then you can get under there and check for corrosion, which is a growing problem on these. Now, this isn't too bad. The floor itself is pretty good, but what you can see is around the seam sealer, you're getting rust under the seam sealer, and you can just pick it off, you see, and there's some surface rust underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of this, I'm going to wire brush it, and I'm going to put that built amber rust eater on it, and I'm just going to leave that for a while so that it can eat in, and then I'll clean it off, give it some paint so that it's all good. I don't have to worry about rust in the future. So, day or so later, Rust Eater has eaten everything away that I was concerned about, just little bits of surface rust and everything. Yes, it doesn't look very good, but it doesn't have to be spotless like showroom condition, because after all, this is underneath the car and there is a heat shield that goes on top of this anyway. So, whilst I wait for that to dry, I'm going to try to sort out these diff mounting bolts. So, because somebody has removed the rubber bushes and replaced them with this plate steel, you can see how far back they sit. So therefore, the genuine Subaru bolts, you can't screw them in all the way. That is literally as far as it will go in, and I need to torque it up as well. So what do? Well, this is where Wix comes involved. So they luckily do these big square spaces. The hole is exactly the right size for here. So I've had to cut the first couple down because with the shape of the curvature, it wouldn't quite fit up against the edge there. So first one on both sides is going to be cut like this, but then I'm going to just start to stack up the washers like this to space out the bolt to the right length. Now somebody might say, well, why don't you just get shorter bolts? Well, these are high tensile steel. They are designed by Subaru to be torqued up to the factory torque settings. Trying to find a shorter bolt with the right thread pitch, the right width, and the right steel to be able to torque up to the factory settings might be quite difficult. So I thought, even though this adds a little bit of weight in the way of spacers, this is actually going to be the simplest way to do that. So I'm going to get cracking on that now. Okay, one down, one to go. All done. Doesn't look pretty, but very solid, very functional. So now I just need to torque them up. So I've got a torque wrench here and lots of extensions. Now these bolts are 62 Newton meters Toyota spec, and then the ones at the front there, you can just make it on both sides, they are 94 Newton meters. Now this is just me personally, I never do stuff to the original Toyota spec when it comes to suspension, because you're putting brand new nuts and bolts into worn out rusty holes, and that causes a bit of drag. And what I found is I've actually over torqued and broke some bolts in the past trying to do the Toyota spec. So what I do when it comes to suspension, I just take 2 Newton meters off. So these are 62, going to do those up to 60. Those are 94, going to do those up to 92. And with that, we move on. Draining the diff is relatively straightforward. Just get yourself an oil catch can and get yourself a set of nice big Allen keys. So, same on the GR86 and GT86 and BRZ and FRS diffs. They're all the same. You've got a drain bolt at the bottom. It's got a hex pattern. And then if you come around the driver's side, passenger side, if you're in the US, you've got a filler bolt on the side of the diff. Slightly bigger hex thread, but basically take an Allen key, pop the top one off first. Always take the top one out first, because if you take the bottom one out and then you can't get the top one out, you can't refill your diff. So it's important that you make sure the first one that you take out is the top one. So here we go. Big Allen key in the side for the filler, and then we just lefty loosey, and out it comes. There is a metal crush washer. Don't reuse it. A lot of people do, but they're very cheap. Go to Toyota, get a new one. I'll put the part number in the description. Okay, and of course this is a GR86 diff. It's got hardly any miles on it. It's very clean, and it's already been drained, so that's no surprise. Right, so now I've got that out. There's no crush washer on the side for some reason. Don't know why that is, but anyway, let's get the lower one out. So slightly smaller Allen key. Actually, no, I tell a lie. It's the exact same Allen key for the left and the right. Let's pop that out. And there might be some fluid that comes out of this one, because there might have been some left in the bottom of the diff. Yeah, there was. Very pink, and I don't know if you can see that, there's actually a crush washer on the bottom. So I'm just going to leave that to drain. Turns out that the top drain plug did have a washer. It was just stuck to the bottom of the drain plug because this GR86 diff is so new. Everything's like stuck together with all of the green factory goop they put on. But anyway, here are the new seals. I got them from Subaru because they were massively cheaper than Toyota. So top one for the drain filler is this part number if you get it from Subaru, and the gasket for the lower drain plug is that part number. So I'm going to pop that onto that onto the lower plug, and then we can start filling it. So I've cleaned up the bottom drain plug, bit of carb cleaner and some rag, and that's a magnet, so that was all covered in little metal files, so you got to take a bit of time to get all of that off. But anyway, the new lower gasket is on, and I think the diff has actually finished draining, so I can pop this back in now. So I'm just cleaning all the crap off the bottom to make sure the surface is nice and clean for the new gasket. That looks pretty good. In it goes, finger tight to start off with. Just got to tighten that up. Now you can just do them up as tight as you can by hand, but if you want to do it to the actual Toyota spec, it's 48 Newton meters, and I've got this 10mm Allen head socket which will allow me to get a torque wrench on there. There we go, nice and tight. So next job, I need to fill the diff, and to do that I'm using Redline 75W90. Literally, Redline make the best stuff. I've also got some Redline MT90. That's what's going to go into the manual gearbox. That's generally considered one of the best oils that you can get for the GR86 and GT86 gearboxes, just to reduce the amount of snappiness. Try to get into first. They're quite tight, quite clunky. and that's got additives to prevent that. But yeah, for the differential, 75/90. Now, if you're going to follow in my footsteps and do this, make sure you get the one that doesn't say NS at the back. There's a slightly different version, 75W90 NS. The NS basically stands for no slip, which is a bit confusing because you would think, well, a limited slip differential, that reduces slip, so you would have no slip, so that must be the one I go for. But actually, this is the one you go for if you've got an LSD. The NS means if you've got no limited slip diff, so don't buy that, buy this. It takes roughly 2 litres of oil, and as you can see, these are in US quart sizes, which is just less than a litre. So I should be able to throw both of those in, and that should fill it up nice and right. You can't overfill the diff really, because the top drain plug is actually the top off point. So if you just keep pouring more and more oil in, eventually it's going to start running out of the filler, so you can't overfill it. So I'm just going to throw these both in. Hopefully it will start to run out the filler, because there's always probably going to be a little bit of oil in there, but if not, I just got to get another one of these, top it up to exactly the fill line. Now, some people use a syringe or a hand pump. I'm going to use a good old piece of washing machine hose. I've already cleaned it through, and then I've got a little funnel that fits straight in, so hopefully that will do the job. So one side of the hose in the filler hole, and in the other end goes the funnel. Now, this is going to take a little bit of time because you're letting gravity do all the work for you. You can speed this up by getting some syringes off eBay or Amazon. It's a lot faster that way. And with that, the drivetrain is in. I'm so glad to have that done, because I feel like the project's really underway now. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're going to subscribe and watch the rest of Project 686 as it unravels. And we've got some great stuff on the next video. See you then. Bye for now.